I posted a video, folks, earlier today on the main channel. We also did a live stream when it was announced about the college football playoff format tweak from 6+6 to 5+7. Any thoughts in that direction, guys, as it pertains to Ohio State or just in general?
Go ahead, Joan.
That was really the best decision. Like the only decision I think is there really are only five, anymore in terms of the group of five being that fifth. I'm okay with it. I don't really have any huge sweeping embrace debate kind of thoughts on it because this is what I was expecting, and I guess it makes it a little bit easier for Ohio State because now you can be the seventh instead of the sixth. So in that regard, I think it's probably good for everybody. The bigger schools, but the bigger schools have so many more advantages. So I wouldn't be completely opposed to two group of fives, but how often are they worthy of it? And probably have to go back and look, see. Well, it was only like 2 times in the last 7 years, and then it's like it's not worth it. So I think if this is 12 teams, you're still looking for the 12 best, and you don't need to throw anybody a bone.
I'm good with this format.
Oh,
yeah. Welcome aboard, Kev. I'm good with this format. Yeah, we're talking about the playoff, Kevin, and the 5+7 arrangement. It's not automatic that the Power Four are going to get those top 4 spots because if, say, the ACC champion is 10-3 or whatever, does a 13-0 Tulane get in the ranked higher than them, would get the automatic 4th spot or 3rd spot or whatever they earn. So I don't have a real problem with it. It seems to me like this is a starting point, and we'll see where it goes. There is some trepidation that the SEC and the Big Ten eventually want to do away with automatic qualifiers because their champions would be in regardless. SEC still plays East-West, which is interesting, at least as far as I know they are. Maybe they're changing that. I don't know. But, it's possible a 3 or 4 loss team could win their SEC championship game one year. So still, the ACC and Big 12 and Big 10 are now all top 2 play each other. So that'll be interesting. But, yeah, I'm good with this format. I say let's give this, a 3-year trial run and figure out from there where it should go.
I'll jump in, and at risk of repeating anything that either Steve or Tony have said, I don't apologize, because if I say it, it's meaningful.
It carries weight.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, I was having to record a show talking about the news of where Ohio State may be playing Northwestern this season. So I think that we're still going to see with this 5+7 model that the Big Ten and the SEC are still probably going to get 7 of the 12 teams in. And when you look at that, that's 7 plus 3. The 3 more are going to be your automatic qualifiers, Big 12, ACC, G5, and then 2 more spots that'll probably go, 1 each to Big 12 and ACC. I'm fine with them getting away from the 6+6 model because I just don't think that I'm not a huge person in terms of putting AQ teams in there, because we could see a year where, I don't know, the ACC, their champion is like 13th in the nation or whatever. And if the goal is to put together the best possible playoff that you can, and you're sitting there and you're having to dig into the depths of the rankings to get there, I don't know if you're doing anybody any favors. As we all like to say at times, sucks to suck. And if you're not good enough to really be in the top 12, that's not my problem.
But the top 12, according to who? The College Football Playoff Committee. So I do like the automatic qualifiers, because my thought there is, if a conference champion out of the power conferences is not good enough to make a 12-team playoff, then we have bigger issues to deal with here than if we're going 5 deep in the Big Ten or the SEC. And like Kevin, I sized up the 10 years of the 14 playoff, came to the conclusion that we're going to go 7 to 8 from the SEC / the Big Ten, and it's going to be 3 to 4 from the ACC and the Big 12, and then it's going to be the one group of 5. What's ironic and kind of strange and odd to me is that when the group of 5 was stronger with Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, SMU, they didn't have a spot at the table. They made it once in 10 years out of 40 spots. Now you've taken all the best programs outside of maybe Boise State from the group of 5, and now we're giving them a spot. And therefore, it's not going to be the 20th best team in the country like a UCF or a Cincinnati. It's going to be like it could have been last year. Liberty, the 50th best team in the country, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, Boise State being one of the proponents way back about playoffs, and they've never sniffed it since. That it is interesting that the clamoring comes from people who once it happens that they've kind of cut off their nose to spite their face in some of these instances. So I'm like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing 2 group of 5s in there, but it would have to be like a Cincinnati type situation where it's been earned. Because they're not playing the same kind of schedules that the other conferences are. So are they earning it, or are they just getting it and moving up? So we'll see how many of the group of 5 people are in the committee. And do you automatically have to recuse yourself if you are part of the group of 5, or only if you're in that school and you can't talk about a particular team? I wonder if they'll start getting that deep into it. I would assume not, but it's just, this is made for the big schools, and that's why they've done it.
I mean, honestly, the group of 5 should just have its own playoff, if we're being honest. The days of Boise State rising up and beating Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl and all of that, that's gone now, especially because was Oklahoma really that interested in that game? And we talk about that every year. What's a team's motivation in the postseason? Well, if you're in the 12-team playoff, you should be plenty motivated. So I just feel like if this group of 5 team, or under Tony's scenario, if you get 2, it just ends up being kind of a, I don't want to be disrespectful and say that you're getting a pass, but you're kind of getting a pass there, because we're talking about a major difference in terms of talent and everything else, and there shouldn't be a motivational issue. And honestly, if I'm a group of 5 player, coach, administrator, I would rather be playing for an actual trophy, championship, whatever, at the end. And if it takes splitting apart and having your G5 champion or whatever, then I'm all for that. I'm all for more high leverage games. And I just don't think that a lot of times a G5 team, especially as we've just kind of discussed here, with the G5 best teams backfilling these other power conferences as they lose teams, there's just not a lot left there. Middle Tennessee State ain't winning no blankety blank national championship. It's just not happening. I'm sorry. So I don't need to see it.
And the thing about your Boise State example is that was all well and good. That was 17 years ago, and it was 1 game. They didn't win 4 games in a row. They were able to pull off 1. That was great. That was fun. But their chances of doing that, yes, is astronomical, doing it 3 or 4 times. And maybe the best position to be in is to be the second place team in either the SEC or the Big Ten, get that 5 seed and take on the Tulane or whoever, have them visit and play an on-campus game and win 45-10 and move on from there.
Or the 3rd place team and not have to worry about the Big Ten championship game, and you have one less situation there. I saw something on Twitter of somebody posting the like a 30-day span of football next starting like December 20th through January 20th, and it starts with the college football playoffs and like all the way through like the NFL wild card round or something. And it's just it looks incredible. I'm not trying to wish away the spring and the summer and the fall, but there's a whole lot of playoff games coming next winter. But this is, I know some people think the playoffs will devalue the season. I think this is the most anticipated college football season in history, and it's going to lead to an incredible regular season, and losses have always been since the BCS, since the playoffs. Certainly, losses have been okay. You've been able to overcome them. Now you'll be able to overcome an extra loss or two with the playoffs. But I still think those games, as they're going on, are going to matter, and they're going to be important. And they're still now will value the jockeying, the advantages that come from winning, the not having to play an extra playoff game. So I think it's going to be a fantastic college football season, and I'm not concerned about it being devalued.
Seeding absolutely matters in this 12-team playoff. It didn't matter in the 4-team playoff. In the first year, Ohio State's the 4 seed, and yes, it has the disadvantage of playing Alabama in New Orleans, but getting that first round bye as a top 4 seed, I think, is very important, because there's 2 weeks between the conference championship games and the first round, and then it's 10 days between everything else. So being able to to hammer to hammer your way in and have that high seed, it matters a lot. So we all heard the thing about, well, if you already know that you're essentially in, you're already qualified in, why risk injury or whatever? You could kind of coast through your last game. Like hell you can.
And Kevin, to your point, I totally agree with you what you're saying about we want the best teams to be in the playoff and to have the best seeds that they earn by being the best teams. And we typically know who the best teams are. And let's say for any given year, it's Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, and Alabama. Let's just say, do we want Arizona as the number 13 team in the country as the Big 12 champion, and Miami as the ACC champion, if they can ever pull that off, as the number 15 team in the country to be given? But I still like the balance and the tension of the earning the spot versus the evaluation of who are the best teams and who pass the eyeball test to get those spots.
I think what we're getting into is a lot of SEC and Big Ten hype. And yeah, I mean, I get it. The Big Ten did add USC and Oregon and Washington, although that program is going to be a shell of its former self. And the SEC added Texas and Oklahoma, marginal top 10, top 5 programs, I guess. I get it. I mean, they've really depleted. They completely, dismantled the Pac-12. And the ACC is still relatively intact, but the Big 12 has been severely damaged by all this. I think it's, at least for the first several years, I think it's not right to just completely dismiss the ACC and the Big 12. I think a 13-0 team in either of those leagues is going to be competitive in a 14 playoff, in a 12-team playoff, would be competitive with anybody in the SEC or the Big Ten. I think over time, what we're going to see is that chasm is going to widen a little bit because of revenue that the top 2 leagues are going to have from their TV deals, and just coaching and recruiting advances, ability to pay players potentially more money. I mean, it's just, it could widen, but to see these top 25 lists come out and no Big 12 or ACC team in the top 10, I don't buy that. I think by mid-November, there'll be one ACC and one Big 12 team right there in the top 5 or top 6, like always. Somebody, I can't tell you, it could be Pittsburgh, it could be Iowa State. Hell, if I know, whoever's 11-0, or 10-1, they're going to be up there. So
I don't completely disagree with
this whole
that.
thing in February where we've already anointed 2 leagues as the leaders of this new frontier of college football. I mean, sure, yeah, but anybody can beat anybody on any given day too. So
I don't completely disagree with that, but I think there is a difference between the ranking justifying the record of, okay, the Big 12 champions 12-1, therefore we're going to rank them number 5 in the country versus what they really are. Are they truly the 5th ranked team in the country, or did they just post a record that we typically give to that team that's 12-1, that's in a Power 4 conference, and there you go, so they're number 5? But are they truly the 5th best team in the country? That remains to be seen. And just looking at the Big Ten in 2023, adding the 4 from the West Coast, even if, let's say, Penn State is able to maintain its 10-2 record, even with a tougher schedule, they swap out Michigan for somebody else and they lose that game instead of losing to Michigan. So they maintain 10-2. Even if you give Washington, Michigan, whomever, Oregon, another loss because of the tougher schedule, 5 of those teams are in the playoff.
yep.
So there are some seasons where the Big Ten in particular, I'm sure the SEC as well, could squeeze in 5, possibly. And then Notre Dame fans complain. I've had a few about this number 5 ranking is the best that they can do with the number 5 seeding.
Tough crap.
Yeah,
Be
you
independent.
made your choice.
Eat a bag of crap. I don't care.
It's your decision. All right.
Eat a bag of crap. I love it. Well, I tell you who's not going to like it is the number 1 seed some year when Notre Dame is 12-0 and they beat the 12, then they beat the 4, and instead of the number 1 playing them in the championship game, they got to play them in the semis. And this is a lot of supposition because Notre Dame hadn't had a team this good since what, 1988 with Lou Holtz. But let's just say Marcus Freeman tears down the world in recruiting 3 years in a row, and he's got the best team in the country. The number 1 team ain't going to like playing them in the semis. I guarantee you that, because they wouldn't be seated properly. But it's a minor thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's gosh, I hope a unicorn doesn't break into my house and stab me. That's the kind of scenario we're talking about there.
Yeah.
Lock the doors.
Yeah. Lots got to happen.
We have an Amazon link in the description of all the videos. So go to the description section of this video, any of the videos, grab the Amazon link, same shopping experience. So replace your link with this link, same shopping experience, doesn't change anything, and you help build the channel. Sharon Moore was asked about Ohio State's off season. And his reply, as I understand it, was we will settle it in November, which I have no issue with for all the people that have claimed that I don't like Sharon Moore because I went off on his going off after the Penn State game because I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. It's not the end of the world. I don't think he's a bad individual because of it. Just don't want my head coach acting like that if he were. But I've got nothing against the man. We'll see how well he does in Ann Arbor. But in terms of his response for that was about the best response I could have imagined.
It sounds like a guaranteed win to me, and that sounds like he's guaranteeing a victory over Ohio State. If you read between the lines there, I don't know if he wants to be going and doing that just yet. But, more power to you, Sharon, for guaranteeing a win.
I have nothing nice to say, so I won't say anything.
Well,
We'll take it, Kevin.
just playing to their fan base, and obviously, he's got 8 months of goodwill to build right there coming off of a championship. So he can say anything and do anything at this point. And there's no repercussions. So there you go.
Is there really any goodwill? I don't think there's ever been a team that has had less juice coming off a natty than Michigan right now. I mean, they're already on the Michigan message boards, people ready to throw Sharon to the wolves. I mean, it'll be an interesting study up there to see what happens, and we still have to get into spring to see what happens from the notice of allegations on the cheeseburgers, We still don't have anything on the sign stealing. There's a lot more left to be written in this book.
We move ahead to further action in the 2028 season. The sanctions have been lifted, and it was a new frontier for the Michigan football program as they opened the season against Connecticut.
Yeah, I think those are fair comments. Just no, we'll settle it. We'll figure out who's going to win when we play the game. I mean, that's about as coach speak as you can get. So I can't be too hateful.